dance, boys!
Witches have existed in stories for many years, and they're normally described as old hags with green skin, or with broomsticks and black cats. But this witch is glamorous and shines among the rest, and that is the beautiful Umbran woman, Bayonetta. She is one of my favourite characters in the recent decade, and one of my favourite protagonists in video games. This video will go through her history, and I will attempt to analyse the woman behind the makeup, and what makes her stand out amongst many action heroes. But first things first, we shall look into her creation and her list of games. The character was created by Hideki Kamiya, who is known for his work on Resident Evil 2, Beautiful Joe, and Devil May Cry. Hideki Kamiya and most of his team were former members of Kyoto Studio, part of Capcom's division, who left and transformed into the development company PlatinumGames. The first three projects were Mad World for the Wii, the science fiction RPG Infinite Space for the Nintendo DS, and Kamiya's project Bayonetta, which was the spiritual successor to Devil May Cry. Kamiya and his team wanted to do an action hack and slash game like Devil May Cry, but wanted it to stand out amongst many video game characters around the time. The concept of the table was to change the gender, as a lot of Kamiya's previous titles were male, so they came up with a witch who fights angels, which is kind of fitting as witches were the opposite of the holy spectrum, and were normally hunted down by humans and the men of God. The roles for the game were also flipped, as angels are normally associated with all things good, so changing them as the bad guys was something that caught my attention before the release of the game. On a side note, all these angels have this emotionless and uncomfortable appearance that looks at a mixed match between gargoyles and other monstrous combinations. Oh, sweet jeez, just burn it and let it die. But I have to admit, it makes it easier for the player to root for the hero. Bayonetta was designed by Maki Zimazaki, and throughout all the characters in the game, Bayonetta was the most challenging to create, which makes sense due to the fact that she is the main protagonist, and the character that appears most in the cutscenes and in gameplay. There are at least 10 pages worth of concept art alone in the art book The Eyes of Bayonetta, and according to Zimazaki on the PlatinumGames blog, that, truth be told, it was a real struggle to arrive at the final design for Bayonetta herself. In fact, it took a full year, which to me is pretty crazy to think about. The issue was on how her hair moves in-game, which made it hard for people to see incoming attacks, and that her long hair just looked boring in-game. They changed how her hair was portrayed, acting more as a conduit to summon demons, and her hair now only goes down in a serious mode in the boss fights. And so Bayonetta's design was finalized for the first game. There is so much more to talk about, but let's get into on exactly who is Bayonetta.
Heaven and hell can tear each other to pieces for all I care. I've got my own problems to worry about.
Bayonetta is an Umbran Witch who was an outcast, being from an Umbran mother and a human stage father, which according to the two clans was forbidden, as it said the intersection of light and dark would bring calamity to this earth. Once both clans found out about their lovemaking, the clans blamed each other, which caused the clan wars. In the end, the human sages fell and the witches were victorious, although their victory did not last. Boulder, the last human sage, and Bayonetta's father got the humans to believe the witches' dark powers, and the witch hunts began, and with the assistance of angels, the clan came close to near extinction. Bayonetta was put into a coma by her best friend Zahn, and reawakened 500 years later by Antonia Redgrave, a journalist who was hired by Boulder and was murdered by the angels once he opened her coffin. Throughout the first game, she suffers with amnesia, and goes to find out about her past with the assistance of Enzo, her informant, and Rodan, her blacksmith. Along the way, she encounters Yuta, a genius, and Antonia's son that holds a grudge against her in the first game. We also have Cereza, who turns out to be Bayonetta from the past, and is the key to the villain of the game, Boulder, who attempts to reawaken the eyes of the world. Bayonetta has the power known as the F-Die, which is a part of the key to reawaken the goddess Jubileus. Of course, Boulder's plans fail, and Bayonetta saves the world. However, Boulder isn't really a bad dude. In the second game, the Boulder from the past sacrificed himself by trapping the evil deity Yopta inside him, which corrupted his mind and travelled back in time to the age of the witch hunts. So, technically, the main bad guy in the first game is actually Yopta. Her default weapon are a set of 4 guns, the Scarborough Fair in the first game and Lover's View in the second. Her name comes from the weapon, the bayonet, which is a sword blade that originated from France, that was normally attached to a rifle for both long and close range combat. Her name's definition matches her playstyle well, as unlike other characters that use guns just for shooting, she uses hers like a melee weapon. Her guns are a set of 4, 2 she wields with her hands, and the other 2 that she uses with her feet, which is very creative and stylish. She is also able to wield many weapons, like a gun scythe, katanas, whips, flamethrowers, and many more, and is able to successfully master all these moves in an instant, making her a jack of all trades. These weapons were magically crafted by Rodan, who materializes demons, which can be seen in Bayonetta 2 after the Arune boss fight. The witches in this game's universe make a pact with the demons of Inferno to gain the ability to summon them. Unfortunately, when they die, their souls get dragged into hell, wandering around Inferno for all eternity. In all fairness, not a great bargain. Bayonetta is able to summon these demons with her hair, which is very imaginative, but wow, you're basically playing as a nudist in this game. She has multiple demons that she summons, which are Gamora, Malphus, and Diomedes, which are used as her finishing moves. These demons are extremely powerful that can kill angels and even gods, making Bayonetta a big threat. But her main demon buddy is Madame Butterfly, who she uses parts of her body as combo finishes that pack a punch. What's interesting is that Bayonetta has no shadow, but instead the player sees Madame Butterfly's shadow, which could result Bayonetta being a prisoner of the demons she has made a pact with. The lore in Bayonetta is heavily inspired by witches, as witches in folklore are said that they make a pact with demonic familiars to gain access to power, and these familiars were in forms of animals or spirits which to be kept in flasks or charms, and in Bayonetta's case, her hair. A witch can also have multiple familiars, which explains why she can summon multiple demons. Even without summoning demons, Bayonetta has immense super strength, able to throw a part of a church onto an angel, as well as throwing a satellite at Boulder. She also gets her hair down, which unleashes her full power, known as Umbran Climax, which unleashes her full strength, making her a force to be reckoned with. Bayonetta discovered in the original game that she could transform into a panther, a crow, multiple bats, and in the second game can transform into a snake. Most of her familiars are associated with familiars that witches have, like the snake and crow, and technically panthers count to this. Her other powers consist of changing her gravity during a full moon, as well as summoning demons, torture devices such as guillotines, Iron Maidens, and vices that were used in medieval European times to execute witches. European culture is a big influence for Bayonetta's environmental designs, like Vigrid from the first game and Nocturne from the second game, which reflects the visual representation of European countries. Bayonetta is also voiced by British theatre actress Helena Taylor, who portrays her character incredibly well. Apparently the creator of the game, Hideki Kamiya, had imagined Bayonetta having an English accent before finalizing her design, which is interesting as most Japanese developers think of the English casting after the Japanese task is finalized.
As long as there's music, I'll keep on dancing.
Bayonetta, voiced by a theatre actress, works well too, as theatre performers are normally melodramatic, which captures Bayonetta's personality. The music for these games are another part that defines Bayonetta's personality. The performer for the two vocal tracks, Fly Me to the Moon and Mysterious Destiny, are sung by Helena Nagoya, a Belgian actress and singer who gives a feminine, jazzy and cabaret vibe to Bayonetta as a character. It's like something you hear from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where you first see Jessica Rabbit perform on stage for the first time. It's got that seductive feel, but classy at the same time. The song Fly Me to the Moon also has a big significance to her backstory, as it was a song that her mother Rosa sang to her as a child. The line in the song, "Fill my heart with song, and yet we sing forevermore," reflects Bayonetta's carefree nature and devil-may-care attitude. She knows that she fights angels for a living and would have her soul dragged to Inferno if she messes up. She might as well enjoy her time living and have fun in what she does. This song could also reflect the player's emotions on playing this wacky game of just having fun and going with the flow. I know I did when I was playing these games. The song Mysterious Destiny also describes her attitude, but also discusses how yoni she gets, and covers up with her dances and her friendly teases with characters like Enzo and Yuka. Here are the lyrics. Bayonetta, you bury your yoniness deep down in your eyes, sadness lies in your smile, but victory shines in your eyes. You're still alive. Many comedians use their talent to turn depressing situations and flip it to heal people with laughter. And she probably does the same thing by fighting, dancing, and spit out jokes from time to time. And having a doll to reach for gives Bayonetta endurance for pain and suffering, and in the first game's case, her memory. Femininity is a key word that perfectly describes Bayonetta. I've already mentioned that the music reflects Bayonetta's identity. It can also be seen in the amount of costumes that can be unlocked in the game, and in the beginning cutscene of the first level, in the second installment, where you see her shopping for new outfits. The character designer Maki Zimazaki said she studied a lot of different images of fashion collections from outside Japan, and estimated she ended up looking at no fewer than 20,000 of them. Her appearance has also changed from the first game to the second game, which can be an issue for some characters, as the new look doesn't represent their identity well. A character change that turned out worse is Dante from Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry. While it's not canon in the series, it was a game that made fans rage with anger over the new design and changes. In the original series, Dante had this sweet yarn red jacket that showed off his enthusiasm, upbeat attitude, and was just plain cool. Dante was supposed to be this flashy and badass hero. However, the Ninja Theory version of Dante just felt like your typical teenage punk. Your typical black hoodie and worn t-shirts and jeans, which isn't bad for a side character, but for an action hero in a hack and slash game, it doesn't stand out well. I'm glad they decided to go back to the original series. For Bayonetta, however, it suits her well, and it makes sense for her character. It tells Bayonetta updates her wardrobe, and likes to keep up with the latest fashion trend. If I had to give my honest opinion on which one I like, it'd be the one from the second, but in terms of capturing the essence of a witch, it would be the original, with the beehive hair that resembles a witch's hat. Her femininity can also be seen in her posture and movement. Her movement is a bit of exaggeration, but it gives her confidence like where she walks. It's like she's in a fashion catwalk. Bayonetta loves to toy with her foes and friends, with flirts and insults, which could be a sign of overconfidence, or a way to make her foes to use their tempers quickly, resulting in them not to think straight in a fight. Sexual characters and sexual content in media is one of those grey area topics that many people have and will still argue for many years to come. In my honest opinion, I'm okay with sexual appeal in my entertainment, as long as it's done tastefully and as long if the character has other things done for them besides showing their achievements every moment. And thankfully Bayonetta has more than just a sex appeal. Now, I don't find Bayonetta attractive. I prefer my sweet Christmases. But I do admit she owns her sexiness and doesn't care what others think of her appearance. She is always in control of the situation, never showing signs of submissive behaviour. She does become defensive once in the series, but unlike your damsels in distress, she is immediately saved by another female character in an instant, rather than by love interest. One of Mari Zimazaki's goals was to make a character that appeals to both genders. The hardest part about designing Bayonetta was that she was a sole protagonist and a woman, so we needed her to be a character that both men and women would accept. It's great to see a character designer to attempt to appeal to multiple kinds of people, and I think in the end she achieved this, as many people I know and journalists have liked this character. Her source of confidence was inherited by her mother Rosa, who was one of the strongest amongst her clan. When Bayonetta was a child, she regularly visited her imprisoned mum, and she was treated with kindness and songs from her. On her birthday, she was given the Umbran Witch by her mother, and since then it has been her prized possession, and when it appears in most scenes, she is always reminded by her kindness. She also inherited her mother's kindness, which can be seen in the later half of the first game. While being imitated by Cereza at first and calling her names like Crybaby, she grows to care for her past self and even wraps Cereza's watch with a piece of her ribbon and tells her to never use it and keep close to her heart, which may imply to love herself and her mother. Her relationship with her father Boulder is merely non-existent at first, due to the fact he was exiled when she was young. Once he saw him in the first game, she hated his guts and didn't stand his constant chitter-chatter, plus thinking he was the one who caused the witch hunts. Although when she discovers in the second game that he wasn't the one behind the witch hunts, and sacrificing himself to save his daughter, she gained some positive emotions towards him, even as far as calling him Daddy during the final hour. While Rosa and Boulder are lost from this world, she has someone she can call family, and that is her fellow Umbran sister, Zahn. Bayonetta and Zahn were childhood friends and were like sisters. In the first game, Zahn played the role of the rival character who was mind-controlled by Boulder to lure Bayonetta and to test her skills. After they fight at the Isle of the Soul, Zahn snaps out of Boulder's control and tells her fellow sister that she was the one who comatose her. Zahn did it to protect her and from Boulder to shame the left eye, and after their conflict, their friendship was reunited. Zahn is like the older sister. While she does tease people like Bayonetta, she is more serious in her role as an Umbran Witch, and often yetses her sibling. In the second game, we can see how much Bayonetta cares for Zahn, as the main goal for the first half of the game is to save Zahn's soul from Inferno. When Bayonetta finds her during Inferno, she almost cries and panics, which is one of the only times where she feels powerless, but at the same time shows her more human side. While she has acquaintances like Rodan, Enzo and Yuta, Zahn is the only thing from her past that still exists, giving Bayonetta a sense of reminiscence and making Zahn valuable to Bayonetta's eyes.
Jean, get up. You're going to be late. Jean, it's time. Get up! Please, Jean! Wake up!
So, what do I think of Bayonetta as a whole. Well, while I don't think she's a feminist icon, she is a superb character that gives off a power fantasy that many characters like Dante, Doomguy, and many action film stars were designed for. As someone who is shy and worries about what others think, it's nice to play as someone who is full of spirit and charisma that can take down the forces of the divine. To me, that is what makes Bayonetta appealing, plus the adrenaline rush that you get from playing these games. This has been Tanooki, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, and have a wonderful day.